about women conceiving when they are young. And when a woman is young, that means she's young in totality. And the key element that we're looking out here for is the pelvis. The pelvis is that canal where the baby should be able to maneuver its way and come out. Now, if you find a pelvis that is underdeveloped because it was not well nourished, that means that because we do not have control over the size of the baby that this woman is going to carry, that means you're going to find a baby's size outweighing the size of the pelvis to accommodate it. So if this mother does not access appropriate obstetric care in time for that baby or for that mother to be helped and to also be able to determine whether this baby will actually make it through that underdeveloped pelvis, that means that this baby is going to spend a much longer time in that birth canal. And it is that length of time that we talked about that is going to predispose to the development of those abnormal holes between either the urinary bladder and the genital tract, or the rectum and the genital tract, or both of them. You can actually flash the picture for them so that we can be able to explain it at that level. Is it okay for me to stand? No.
Hey, doctor, add us the other foot.
And we all center around the health. Are we all able to look at where the cursor is? And then also, are we seeing this part here?
Yes.
When a baby is being delivered, it maneuvers its way through the bony structures of the woman, what we call the pelvis, and it is supposed to be delivered out of this genital tract, what we call the vagina, and eventually we call that birth, or we call that childbirth. Now, there is a process that this baby goes through to maneuver its way so that it can be able to make it to the outside. In the process of this baby maneuvering this canal to make it to the outside, there are limitations in these bones. The alignment of the baby's head, or the presenting part of the baby, in relation to the pelvis, which is the canal where the baby is supposed to maneuver through, should be proportionate to each other. If you find that the baby's head, which is the presenting part, being bigger than the baby or through which that head is supposed to come out, that means that either there is going to be a much longer time that this head is going to take at this point as it attempts to maneuver itself and as it attempts to crush itself so that it can be able to come out, or it will eventually fail to come out. And it all depends on the length of time that this process takes before an experienced birth attendant can notice that this baby cannot actually make it out of this mother's canal. And that's the reason why we are saying we should be able to improve experienced birth attendants to make sure that the people that are attending to these mothers are able to detect this early enough. That's the reason why we are talking about antenatal care, goal-oriented antenatal care, because all these are processes that can be determined when a mother is not yet even in labor, where you can be able to approximate the size of the baby and determine whether indeed it will be able to make it through this canal, and advise the mother appropriately on whether they will be able to deliver normally or they will not be able to deliver normally. And that's the reason why during antenatal, towards the end of the antenatal period, there is a process that we call birth planning that is usually required to have an effective discussion between the mother, the husband, and the medical team to be able to appropriately plan and say, yes, from what we see of your baby that you're carrying, the size of the baby that you're carrying, and what the picture of your bones are presenting to us, you either will be able to make it and deliver this baby normally, or you will not be able to make it. And if you're not able to make it, then we schedule you for what we call assisted delivery, and in this case, it is cesarean section. So if you obtain a cesarean section early enough, then you save a mother from going through this experience. If a mother does not go through that process and attempts to go and deliver on their own, when this baby's head is much bigger than the size of this pelvis, that's how you're going to find the baby getting stuck in that canal. And the longer the baby's head stays at that point, the more the impact it will have on crushing of the tissues between the birth canal and those other neighboring tissues that we are talking about. To the front of the birth canal, we have the urethra, that tube through which urine comes, and we also have the bladder, that collects blood for us. Urine for us. To the behind of that birth canal, we have the rectum, the tube through which feces or stool comes out. So if that baby stays longer at this area, you will have that head pressing against those structures and crushing them. And it is that crush effect that eventually leads to the abnormal hole developing, or the death of those tissues, which tissues eventually die out and create an abnormal hole is created, which will communicate between the birth canal and the urethra, the birth canal and the bladder, or the birth canal and the rectum to the behind, what we are calling the fistula. Match the rate at which fistulas are being created. And the only way you can be able to do that is by observing the things that we have raised over here. One, let us try as much as possible to avoid teenage pregnancies. We've all realized that it's from women who are underage conceiving that we are getting a huge burden of women that are prone to suffering fistula. But then on top of that, we also have a huge burden of women that are not seeking antenatal care. We've realized that when a woman seeks antenatal care, she's able to be guided on whether the baby's positioning in relation to the birth canal is appropriate, and therefore the baby will be able to come out well or not. And it's through that we are able to create an appropriate birth plan for this mother, so that we can prevent some of these things from occurring. If that does not happen, then that means we will continue having a challenge with fistulas forming. And for as long as the inlet is so huge and yet the outlet is very narrow, we will continue having a very big challenge. So the media has a very big role to make this message available to all the consumers and to the whole entire population, that we still have a very big challenge, and we all have a role to play in making sure that we can reduce this challenge that is facing women. We all are potential people that can suffer this. We can suffer it as a man. I can suffer it when my wife gets a fistula, and as a father when my daughter gets a fistula, or as a mother when my daughter gets a fistula. So let's make sure that we can raise that we have raised over here, making sure that women who are pregnant receive antenatal care. We advocate for late exposure to sex for our children. And as men, we have a very big role to play in this regard. Let us support our women to receive all these services that we're talking about. Let us facilitate them, and if it's monitoring, let's make sure that we provide them with those resources so that they can be able to access medical care, and let us be able to take them there. Let us be involved in this whole entire process. But then on the other end, let us also try as much as possible to stop going for underage girls, because it's through that the underage girls get exposed to early pregnancy, which eventually exposes them to all these complications that we're talking about here today.